Hey all, here is a replay version of the most recent live stream Q&A on all things Social Security that occurs every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So this is with all the little silences carved out of it. So I hope it's an easier listen for those who are doing the replay versus being there live. And we'd love to see you live. So feel free to pop in. Bye-bye now. Right. Chill Nichols in the house. Oh, Chill Nick. Nice to meet you, Chill. Chill says, I have my first meeting with my SSDI attorney this week. The office paralegals told me that the attorney will be taking my case, but the meeting is to sign paperwork and for me to meet the attorney. Well, that's sweet. Seems like a pain in the arse, but they might not be very up on tech, so maybe they, sometimes like the firms that have been doing other forms of legal for a gazillion years, like when I started back in the Stone Age, they haven't really gotten a little more modernized, and they make their clients drive down there and all that business. I would say most of the SSD attorneys that do it full time don't do that, but I'm curious if they make you wait in the waiting room or like, will they be timely? Just curious. Chelnick says, any tips on paperwork or info I should bring for the attorney? Nope. What kind of questions might the attorney ask me? You'll have to ask him. And what should I be asking the attorney? Any advice is appreciated. I think what might be helpful to know is expectations of communication. Does he have a portal where you can message him? Obviously, you're not going to be able to call him up and expect him to be able to take a phone call with you. Those are really more scheduled things for needed items. But do they have a portal where you can send a message if you have a question? Or you can upload paperwork securely to a portal when you get something in that they might find helpful. Yeah, so if they want to send you a message, can they send you a message to the portal? And that's your go-to. I think a portal can be so helpful. It helps staff answer quick questions that you might have, while the attorney's busy doing court or for hearing or whatever. Simple questions that knowledgeable staff can answer. Why should you wait, a week or two for the attorney to free up to be able to get to that inbox question, when he's busy doing hearings or whatever that take precedence when your answer could have been handled by, a sharp paralegal or, disability associate. So the portals are great. You can message them at any time of day when a thought comes into your head. You don't have to, be prepared. You don't have to think about what you're going to say. You can pre-write it however you want or not, it's really helpful. There's also, I know with our portal, there's texting capabilities. So you can use your phone. You can use your phone to get into the portal too, but you can use the phone to text the portal texting number. And then we can text you back and it'll go to your phone and you won't have to log into the portal. Those are for usually quicker things that we want really fast, like pieces of information. You might want to also ask him if they assist you with the function report. Do they prepare it after you give them the basic information so that they can make sure everything's kosher and worded the right way and accurate and not unresponsive? Do they assist with those things, or do they have you just do it, wing it, and send it in yourself? Sorry, my hair's going on my face again. Those might be questions, because those are the things that people seem to care about, those answers. I guess robust or in-depth is the firm with regard to embracing all the things that, are helpful for SSD cases to move along and clients to be addressed and all that. PCWC says, hello and hi, welcome to see you. Hello, is there any information about the SSI Restoration Act? You'd have to describe for me what that is. I don't even know what that is. Is that a slang for something, or is that some bill that someone's putting up that'll never pass, or is it something big? SSI restoration. We have SSI, so what are we restoring? Hey, Thomas Harris is in the house. Hey, buddy. Hope you're doing well. I'm doing very well. How are you doing now? More importantly, Sherry Romero says, I have neuropathy in hands and feet, cervical and lumbar radiculopathy, and memory loss documented by my doctor. Sherry, depending on how much you need the rollator, do you mean like a rolling walker? That uses two hands, so you can't even be walking in a sedentary job to bring papers to somebody or whatever. Do you still have a fall risk with that? There are some times when you need too much assistance to walk, even if you're otherwise able to do a sedentary job, say unskilled due to that memory loss, that the instability on the feet won't even accommodate the up to 2 hours you still have to kind of get around the office for a sedentary job for most of them. So you're young, but you have a lot of bad stuff. And I'm really sorry. I mean, you're too young to be dealing with that. Life is not fair, I know. So hopefully you're keeping up your spirits and your chin up and you have a greater thing to focus on. But your stuff is pretty significant. And make sure that you are treating for all of those all the time. Probably Medicare, Medicaid, right? Are you seeing therapy for the memory loss? You're getting memory therapies, occupational therapies for that? Do you need, I forget what the other mental impairments were. Did you say the psychotic, with the psychotic traits, then you must be having a psychiatrist, medications, and a talk therapist weekly? Those are things I would jump on. And neurologist for all the other things with very regular updates to diagnostics to see how that back is doing and the radiculopathy. Yeah, I mean, you've got a lot going on, girl. I feel for you. Vivi says, I'm confident I can't do full or part-time work because my symptoms are unmanageable for consistency such as that, but wanted to see if I could handle something occasional one day a week. Okay, so let's say you found a job that allowed you that flexibility. You could pick whatever day. You had 8 hours you had to get done, however way you want to cut and slice it. That would be a job that doesn't exist in substantial numbers probably, but you could still earn money from it if you need the money for something. And it also helps you potentially, if you make at least, $2,000 a year, generally, you're going to earn at least one credit. If you can earn more than that, better, because you can keep pushing your DLI out forever and you can keep fighting your case. If you don't win, you can file again for SSD. I don't really have to worry with that. And SSI, of course, every dollar you brought in is going to some degree, take away from SSI. Should you prevail? Red flag for the SSA? No, but they will inquire about it. They need to know all about it. What kind of work are you doing? Is it going to be inconsistent with what you say you can and cannot do? Is it SGI? Is it not SGI? So it's definitely relevant and material, but I wouldn't call it a red flag. A lot of people work part-time with disability, and it's not discouraged. And it's not a reason to lose your benefits either if you do it right. So I would expect that you would do your due diligence to get proper information on it if you do it. Okay. Sherry said, I've had these for 3 years and it just keeps getting worse. I applied in 2023. Yeah. Are you still in the same case or did you reapply? Are you doing SSI or SSD or both? Eventually you'll run out of SSD. You won't be insured anymore if you still are. 3D says, at a remand hearing after the appeals council finds legal error. Does the ALJ usually look at the case differently than the first time? Also, I am in my late 20s. My claim has been ongoing since 2023. Okay, does he look at the case differently? I believe so, because it's going to be the same judge probably, and he's already been kind of smacked down, saying you screwed something up. It's kind of a professional blow, I think. So he's going to make sure not to do that legal error again, by and large. It is your opportunity to really vamp up your medical evidence by robust treatment, follow-up, getting new diagnostics if it's diagnostic oriented, vigorous treatment, vigorous pursuits, conservative therapies, physical therapy that shows that this is still going on. But that can be really helpful at a second hearing because I've said this before, giving the judge new evidence in addition to what he had before can help him potentially, I'm just trying to think like a shrink now, in his mind, be like, oh, now that we have this evidence, now I can find him disabled. He doesn't even have to say, yeah, I screwed up and I wouldn't have found him disabled if I had followed the rules properly. He didn't have to say that, to himself. He could just be like, well, with this new evidence, it gives him food to think about awarding and not having to be like, I made a mistake before. No, I didn't make a mistake before. On that evidence, I still would have denied. But now that I have this, particularly if there was some missing from your old hearing, 3D, was there something not in front of the judge? If you can get that in front of him, then you might even get an award back to the original date you wanted it. Otherwise, sometimes a remanded judge might win you, they might deny you too, but might win you with a later date than what you had said. Now that you have the new evidence in, at least he can get you there. So just different things that can happen. It's really annoying. Annoying. All right. You're welcome, Shell. Thomas says, doing well. Nice to see your smiling face. And thank you. PC says, SSI Restoration Act is a bill in Congress, there's like 5 million of them, that the Senate in talks with. I hear it has a few support. Well, what is it about? I'll have to look it up. Want me to do a video on it? If it's interesting, I will. If it's a foo-foo, nothing, I won't, but I wonder what it is. SSI. So remember, that's Supplemental Security Income. You're saying it's about the welfare program. It's not about Social Security, if you have your name right. Shiloh. What does SSA consider regular treatment for mental health? I would say a consistent schedule. There's regular treatment, for some people that's once a week, some people it's twice a week, some people it's once every 2 weeks. That's not that unusual when they've been going for a long time. Sometimes it's once a month, sometimes it's once a quarter. I would say the less frequent, the better off you are in terms of your health, because you don't think you need it more robustly than that. So I think frequency can really speak to your own, it kind of represents how bad you think you are. So if you don't think you're bad enough to need weekly therapy, why should anybody else, But regular means, I think, it's not like you're just one-offing. Every 2 years you pop into a therapist or you go to a psychiatrist or something like that. Twill says, so this is kind of a next question. That was one of my questions about mobility. I have a rollator with a seat along with a quad cane and a knee brace. I think I remember this from last week, right? Diagnosed with Meniere's disease, carpal tunnel. Of course, well, I guess the Meniere's might be why you have the rollator seat, right? 3 mental diagnosis and a leg injury. Oh, the leg injury. Yeah. Yeah, the rollator, again, if you don't need it very often, it's less, it's less of a big chunk, but it's like a walker, 2 hands. That means you can't be carrying something, even if you need a cane. Like a cane, sometimes they'll be like, he can do a sedentary work, because sometimes they'll even ask, can the person walk and hold a piece of, an envelope in one hand while working with the cane? And they'll ask the consultative examiner that, so that if a person's with a cane, they get the answer that, yeah, he can still do that. It's a little different if a person needs a cane for standing stability, not just for walking, then they're one-handed even when they're at a desk or a table doing table work, if it's a table work proposed job by a CE, because now they need the one hand to stay stable while they're standing there supposedly doing a 2-handed job. It eliminates 2-handed jobs if they need it for standing. Charlotte, I know you asked this question in a different way. I think I answered it. New way to ask it was, what does SSA consider regular treatments? Meaning how many mental health visits yearly? It's not really yearly. What if you just started 6 months ago? It's not going to be a whole year. So it's really more of that regular. I go weekly. Every 2 weeks I go to I have my therapy. That kind of thing. We are at 1 hour and 35 minutes, guys. So we got about 25 minutes left. Twill says, medical records state I need the rollator walker for short and long distances. Also, my mental meds are pretty strong with side effects. Oh, yeah. Quetiapine. That's definitely antipsychotic. So, right? Antipsychotic? Psychotropic. Be sure to document to your doctors the side effects, I would say, too. Both the physical and the, cognitive you have. So, Twill is going for vestibular therapy and physical therapy 4 days a week. Hey, Shub is in the house. I'm glad you're getting on that therapy, 12. Hey, Shub. Nice to see you visiting. It's very nice when successful claimants come back and visit. We like that. It can be a bit of positivity for everybody else along this journey. Vivi says, okay, I see. And this is a question here. Is the attempting work situation different for SS? Not in terms of finding whether you're disabled or not, but when they go back, if they do find you disabled, and if they go back and see what do they owe you for all those past months, they're going to have to subtract out what you made that month. $1 for every $2 you earned comes up top. So you never want to earn more than that would take out all of the SSI, which is a really hard thing to do because you're going to be way over SGA too. So, and you don't want to be over either one of them. I'm in my reconsideration in my 20s with mental health and physical problems, something occasional such as babysitting, for example. Yeah, is that so you can try to, sometimes people just babysit to babysit. Are you trying to earn money? Are you trying to earn credits? In which case, earn the money and then pay the taxes on it at tax time, which there are SSD reasons for doing that, which we've talked a lot about. Thomas Harris says, oh, that's really sweet. Stephanie and her team helped me get my disability the first time. You guys are in good hands. Yeah, that worked out perfectly. Sherry Romero says, SSI and SSDI, I had worked part-time. I had worked part-time being my mom's provider for 3 years a day, spaced out all day, and I had 35 surgeries since I was born. Oh, I'm sorry, Sherry. I was on SSI until 18. I had to stop because couldn't do it. Had to stop what? Being your mom's provider, or had to stop SSI? I will say that, well, there's so much to your case, Sherry. It's kind of hard to get into it here. Yeah. Like, did you stop caring for your mom 3 hours a day because you couldn't do it? Did it put you over SSA? Is that why you lost your SSI? Why did you lose your SSI when you turned 18? Because they judged you on just so you know, guys, when you're on SSI as a child, you get redetermined at 18 because the definition of being disabled as a child is obviously different from the definition when we're an adult. Because adult is about work and child it's not. So they have to reassess kind of redetermination at 18 to see if the person is disabled under the rules for disability as an adult. And that sometimes causes people to lose the redetermination. Mephisto says, does the SSA DDS doctor take your age into account when assigning an RFC? Very loaded question. Let me tell you why I think so. First, the RFC is not supposed to be age-related at all. Those are what the laws do, right? However, many of us on this side of the fence would swear that a doctor working for the SSA does take it into consideration, because when they seem to be making it a stretch to assign a 54-year-old to an RFC of lights, knowing full well that light will destroy their case, instead of saying, yeah, he probably can't do more than a sedentary job. You just have to think that it's because it'll get the denial. We've just seen it stretched where we're like, come on, the person can't do light work. That's on his feet 6 out of 8 hours. Triple surgeries on his lumbar spine. Just so officially they're not supposed to. Have they always? It seems to me they always have. And I feel like about 5 years ago, they really stepped it up. So that's what I feel. Yeah, Vivi's trying to earn something of an income if I can handle the amount of occasional work. Yeah, some people do gigger work, or they figure out their own self-employment, like you said, like babysitting. Obviously not someone that it would be contrary to what you say you can and cannot do. So if you can't lift things, I wouldn't be babysitting for a baby or a toddler. Sometimes it's house sitting. It's a little bit of occasional. It's usually not highly regular, and then if your goal is to get SSDI insured status or keep it from expiring, then you want to not write off everything as a business expense from the self-employed business, which it all is when we do this, and just declare the whole income and pay the taxes on it, meaning the self-employment taxes, because that is your Social Security taxes. I have to pay mine soon. As a self-employed person, I pay the employer side for myself, and I pay my own. It's a lot. That right there is like 15% of your every dollar, on top of your federal income tax, your state income tax, and your local income tax, which we have all of the above where I live. You just get to coming and going, right, guys? La Rocho's in the house. Hi, La Rocho. Good to see you again this week. Hey, Stephanie. Next question. I am here late again. No worries. I promise to watch your entire program. Don't want to miss everything. SS with Stephanie. Oh, you're sweet. And by the way, I got the call from the hearings office about canceling. Were you going to cancel were you going to withdraw your request for hearing? Is that what we were talking about? Sorry. I talk about these issues with multiple people every week. So I'm like, which one is it? All right. Cube shares with us. I'm 57 with a 5 to 7 year diary date. If I had surgeries on both knees by then, are they really going to make me go back to commercial driving? Remember, they're not going to make you go back to commercial driving, and they don't even have to. I don't think it's going to happen to you, Shub. So I'm just saying this generally for everybody. You don't lose a CDR because they have to find that you could do your old job. They just have to find you could do any job that exists in substantial numbers. And usually they make sure it's three jobs they usually list. Yeah, I think it's unlikely. But just so people know, you don't have to just say, well, I can't do my old job. They're never going to think I can, so I'm safe. Because even if that's true, do you improve enough to do other jobs? That light job or that, But again, if you had commercial driving and they can't prove that you're improved enough to do medium level work, which I would hope at like 60, they're not going to say you can, not with the, surgeries and such. So you're probably in good shape, Shoot. Don't you think so? I think you agree with me, right? Twill says, why is it not clicking on? If my husband and I file our taxes jointly, but my income is 0, well, that's under red flag that I'm over SGA. No, it's what's under your Social Security number. So that's why it's really important if someone is working, they don't let it all go under a family business. Like, let's say the husband or the wife is always putting all in their name, but the other person's doing all the office work and customer service or whatever. That's a big mistake people make. Huge mistake. Putting it all on one person's Social Security. Maybe they're going to get, I don't know, maybe their accountant said it's going to be cheaper to file your tax returns. I don't know. But now the person who's also working and could have been earning Social Security disability insurance would have been paid for. Now they don't have it. So no, joint tax, it doesn't show up under your Social Security. Only what came under that W-2 for him or 1099 for him will show up that way. So no worries. It gets kind of like diverted out to the right people when it comes down the pipe. And you'll know this, 12, if you look at your annual Social Security earnings statement, there will be a 0 for you. Okay. So as long as no one puts you on a Schedule C saying you're, doing self-employed work and you're not getting a W-2 or a 1099 in your Social Security number, you'll be fine. La Rocho has May's hearing. Right. Because you had a surgery, right? Right. So the judge did agree. Now what? Were you the one that said the judge, they won't let me, maybe that was someone else last week. They won't let me change my hearing, even though it's like 3 weeks before this major surgery. And it's in person. It was in person. I'm like, that's crazy. Why can't they just change it to MS Teams and you can still do it from the comfort of your own home, sitting on the toilet if you have to with your phone? PCW says, I'm sorry, it's about giving people to have their benefits raised. Is that the law you're talking about? Giving people to have their benefits raised to the federal poverty level I think SSI is actually at the federal poverty level. I think. Is the federal benefit rate, which is SSI, same as the federal poverty level? No, I guess it's not. Increase the allowable assets from. Okay. I actually support that too, actually. Yeah, that's been, but just so you know, like, I know it sounds like a big deal that it's a bill. We've been seeing this forever. As long as I've been practicing this, which is, I'm in my 3rd decade now, it's always been sought after. One of the reasons being the allowable assets, at the very least, there should be a COLA attached to that. That amount of 2,000 has been around for 40 years. Oh, if you can have up to $2,000. Well, 40 years ago, that was a lot more money. So that's, I just think COLA needs to be applied to anything that you think is a, if it's necessary at all, you know, there should be a COLA. Oops. I do agree with that, because I think if you did the COLA, it probably would be close to $10,000 now. If they had done it all along, might be a little less, but that's okay. COLAs don't really reflect the actual increase in prices to begin with, so I support it. There's been so many though. I don't really much pay attention to it. I do not believe in getting rid of all in-kind support. At least I don't think I do. Let's see. You know, the reason being too, PC, it is welfare, and it's coming off the backs of low income and middle income people. So when you start allowing so much, it starts to be that the people getting the welfare have more wherewithal than the people working and paying their wherewithal. Do you follow what I'm saying? So I'm not saying that wouldn't be a good idea. I'd have to see the numbers. I'm a numbers person, and no one showed them to me because it's not really what I do for a living, is looking at but when I see someone who isn't working, isn't able, or chooses not to, whichever, getting more than the person who does work full time, it sits wrong with me. Because the person that's working full time but can't even earn a savings of their own, can't even get to that $10,000 savings, because they keep paying these taxes. You know what I mean? So that's where I come from. Not because I think that amount is high or anything, but it is a freebie. It is a handout, and sometimes it's on the back of someone who can't even save 2,000. I mean, I remember being that person where I could not pay my bills, keep a roof over my head, not put myself on welfare, and I couldn't save what they can save. So you just got to know it's not coming from a mean-spirited place. It's just saying, but what about the slave worker that's providing that? And they're not allowed to get that high. So that's just where I get my little, it's probably the conservative part of me, but it's, the workers, you got to think about them. Just got to think about them.